Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Courtney and I'm a fourth and final year PhD student at Imperial College London. So I recently did a video a couple of months ago about how to start the application process for a PhD. But today I want to cover how to get into a PhD program in the UK as an international student. So I'm an international student. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I moved to the UK in 2015 to pursue my master's and have stayed there to do my PhD, which I'm currently completing. So I'm going to take you through the steps as an international student that you want to take in terms of getting into the PhD program. So as an international student, there are a few hurdles that we have to get around because we're moving from one country and maybe one educational system to another. You may be moving from an Indian, American, whatever other education system to the British education system. There may be a few different things. For example, maybe off the bat, language barriers, but also difference in terms of grading and how your degrees have been graded. So the first thing you want to do as an international student when you're thinking of doing a PhD is one, to really make sure that this is what you want to do. So a PhD program and the PhD journey can be is a very intense and hard period in your life. And I always say, if you want to do a PhD, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And maybe it's not just something as getting a visa and going to live in the country, because it really takes a lot of time, effort, and dedication to get through it. So that is my first thing. And as an international student, it can be very expensive to do a PhD. So first, make sure it's what you want to do. But once you've gotten all that together, that was just me being honest. Once you know for sure you want to do the PhD, the next step is to identify the universities that you can attend. So look at the universities that rank amongst the top, have the best resources in the field that you're interested in. And I did cover this a bit more in the other video that I did before, which I'll link above. But what is very important for us as international students is to understand the entry requirements for the different universities that we are interested in. So as I mentioned, there may be a difference in terms of the ranking of your university degree, your master's, your bachelor's, etc. So you want to check the entry requirements for the PhD program, whether it be that you must have a master's first, or you can go in with a bachelor's, whether it has to be a 2-1. In the UK, they use a system as 2-1, which in the equivalent for me would be upper second class or a first class, which they would say a first, and so forth. So make sure that you check the entry requirements, and that if there needs to be any translation between the degree classification that you have and the UK, that you get those clearly and make sure that you're eligible for entry, and so before you apply. Once you've checked that, you need to start reaching out to potential supervisors. So look around for the supervisors in different departments that you're interested in at the different universities. Send them an email telling them you're an international student and you would like to research with them. Mention the topic and area that you want to research, and perhaps if you have a proposal, share that with them. One of the biggest challenges and barriers to us as international students pursuing a PhD degree in the UK is funding. Now, there are a lot of PhD studentships and grants and funding opportunities available in the UK, but as international students, it becomes a bit limited because a lot of the renowned research grants and studentships tend to be for EU, European, and UK students. But however, there's still hope. There are several sites that you can go to check out different studentships, find studentships and opportunities to get funding from the university. First, there's normally the university website, which often has a list of studentships and scholarships that you can filter based on your background, where you're from. Secondly, there's, for example, jobs.ac.uk or findaphd.com. But in all of these, you want to make sure that you are eligible based on your nationality and your background. It may be the case that you're eligible in one aspect, but not in another. Sometimes for some of the research, for some of the grants and stipulations, they may require you to be in the UK at least 5 years before you can qualify, even if you're not a British or EU national. Sometimes it is the case that funding isn't available for international students, but it will give you the funding that is available for UK and EU students, and then you have to find that additional funding. That is sometimes the case. So you can always talk to the supervisor or research council that is in charge of that project to get a better understanding of whether you are eligible to apply. As an international student, finances is really a big thing, especially when it comes to your stipend and living expenses. And when checking out these studentships, you want to get an understanding of what is covered in the studentship. Is it just tuition? Is it tuition and stipend? Is it just living expenses? These are things you need to be really mindful of, because then the responsibility will fall on you when you're in your program, and having that additional financial burden and worry is very distracting from the PhD program itself. So get an understanding of the cost of living, get an understanding of what is available with the funding. Make sure that you take informed decisions towards choosing and selecting the funding program that is best for you and the choice of funding that is best for you. But I also want to make special mention of scholarships such as the Commonwealth Scholarship, the Commonwealth PhD Scholarship, which I myself am a recipient of. That is funded by DFID, well, it used to be the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. It's available for international students in the Commonwealth. And you do get stipend and living expenses covered. So there are full scholarships available. And also the PhD Imperial President Scholarship, which is one of the best scholarships out there in terms of financing and the stipend that they give you. So again, as I just want to say, make sure that you do your research, make sure that you're making informed decisions, and that you've checked the eligibility and entry requirements for grants, programs, etc. Next thing you also want to bear in mind when getting entry into a PhD program is the visa process and the visa requirements. Now let's assume that you're lucky enough to get a scholarship. You need to still have the visa and be able to get the visa to pursue your research. So with the visa process, you're going to also need to present bank statements and so forth to accompany your application, so that you can get your visa approved to start on time. I did cover a lot more of the PhD application process in a separate video that I've linked above. Specific aspects for international PhD students really boils down to eligibility for funding and entry requirements, and making sure that you identify whether you qualify for certain scholarships and funding before you apply and before you reach out to different supervisors, etc. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was quite short, but do check out the other one. It goes into more detail, and see you in the next video.